This is a vintage 1960s SIRENO siren from an ambulance. Had this since I was a kid. There's a story involved, so let's get settled in and then I'll tell you about it and we'll try to give it a run-up. When I was a kid, my father had, I believe it was a 1977 Dodge Aspen. He used to work in Manhattan during the evening and overnight. And because of that, crime in the 1980s, when I was a kid, was pretty rampant in Manhattan. So my dad decided that he wanted an alarm system on his car. Now, this was certainly not unheard of, but it was something that you didn't find often. Old school, body on frame, big metal car, you know, the deal kind of thing. So he rigged up some kind of circuit, tied into the door switches and whatnot, and this was the alarm for it. This was, again, a vintage 60s SIRENO ambulance siren that he got at a surplus store. When, I don't know. Could have been sometime in the later 1970s. I don't know, but when I was about 13 years old or so, that Dodge had pretty much had it. It rolled over, I can't remember, definitely 150,000, which was a lot for a car back then. But the problem was it drove for years into Manhattan in winters and New York. And the frame of the car, because it was a body-on-frame car, was pretty much gone. So the car really wasn't safe anymore. He actually brought the car to a place that said that they could try to weld it, but they couldn't guarantee it. And he felt that it really was not a good idea to go ahead and keep driving it, and set about looking for another car. As a result of him selling the car, and while on the subject, I'll tell the story very quickly. He sold the car, I guess put a thing in the newspaper, because that's what you did back then, and a guy had responded and said that he'll buy the car, and it turns out that he was a cop, but he also was moonlighting as a used car salesman. So he had one of his cop buddies drop him off in a cop car, and then he was going to buy the car because it was listed as running and driving, and drive it back to wherever. Well, long and short of the story was, for some reason my dad accepted a check. I seem to remember the amount was $250, which even then really wasn't a tremendous amount of money. But that's what the deal was. The check he accepted, the guy drove off with it, and of course, being that he was selling the car, he took out a few items that he had put in, one of which was the siren, and another was a set of air horns that he put in that I also have. He had this mounted in the trunk of the car, and in the rear fender there was a cylindrical key switch, and the idea was you get back to the car, instead of getting in the car, which would set the alarm off, you go and turn off that key switch first, and then open the door. The alarm is, of course, at that point disarmed and go. Well, anyway, the cop bought this, and then he drove the car away, and within a couple of hours he called. Nobody was home to pick up the call, so he left a message, and he said that I was driving back and the oil light came on and the engine blew. That's what he said, which was completely false and bullshit. And he stopped payment on the check. We called the police department and told them about this guy and what he did. And they actually gave us a recorder to put on the telephone line to record in the event the phone rings and he called back. Well, obviously he never called back, and the cops were aware of this, and long and short of the story was my dad never got the money for the car, and the cop might have gotten a slap on the wrists. Here is the siren. It's a SIRENO. It weighs a ton, okay? An absolute ton. Back of it was always a little wonky like that. Let's turn it around. You can see the siren parts. It does move. It's not a very smooth and fluid motion. Here is the information. I don't know what you can read on that. I'm going to get a magnifier and see if I can read anything. It's just rusty, dusty. Oh, the magnifier makes it worse. M8, perhaps? There is a serial number. I see 12. I guess that would be, yeah, it says volts 12. But as far as the rest, I just can't make it out. I really can't make anything else out. There are two wires. I've always known that one is positive and one is negative because that's how I used to run it when I was a kid. Should it ground to the vehicle and then maybe one is, I don't know. I never tried that and I'm not gonna because I don't want to blow it up. One thing I do need, however, is ear protection because this thing is super loud. In all of my time with this, the best I had was a 4 amp 12 volt transformer and it got it running, but that was about it. I never had it on a car battery. I don't remember what it sounded like in my dad's car because it was very, very rare that he would forget to shut it off before getting in. But let me get my jump pack, some hearing protection, and we'll give this a shot. Okay, I can't hear anything anymore, which is great. This has not run in at least 20 years, if not even 25, probably pushing more 25, if not even a little more than that. I don't know if I'm making a good connection, or if it's going to run at all, or if it's hooked up backwards. So what I'm going to do is hold this and just blip it quick. Oh, it works. Now, like I said, it's noisy like that. This is not going to be good. Okay, well, it works, so here we go. I'm going to hold it here, and then I'll put my other hand on it. I don't know how fast it's going to take to get up to speed with the little 4 amp transformer I had. It took quite a while, and probably roasted the diodes that I had on there in a full bridge rectifier, but it did get it up to speed-ish. Never had it on a good car battery. This isn't a real battery, but it's a 7 amp hour 12 volt. Here we go. Turn your volume down. I'll give you a second. All right, here we go. Wow, I have never seen it spin up that fast. That is awesome. In all my years, I have never seen it spin up that fast. All right, let's go ahead and give this one more whirl. So, turn your volume down, and here we go. Okay, now I'll sort of run it up and make it go up and down a bit. So I'll get a good grip on it and we'll just... Wow. Wow, wow. I can't believe that it's still, I can believe that it still works. I mean, it's vintage, right? But I have never seen it spin up that fast. What I used to do as a kid was hook this up. I'd wrap a towel around it. Not a good thing, but that's what I would do. I'd wrap a towel around it and then hold it between my knees while on the floor, and then go to plug it in because the outlet is right there on the wall, and that's how I used to do that. And yeah, but I never ever had it run even that fast. It just immediately makes noise. Yeah. Let's disconnect it. I'll give you a closer up view of it and the inside, and obviously that goes like that. This bolt comes out, and you were to make a hole in the car and bolt it up to that. I forget exactly how that worked, but something like that. The bolt only goes in about that far for whatever reason. I don't know if there was an additional bracket, but there were two washers on there, curiously of different sizes. But that's about all I can tell you about the vintage 1960s SIRENO ambulance siren. Definitely a cool piece, and definitely never getting rid of that. Would of course go great with the ambulance light. And just for fun, while we're on the subject, let me get that all rigged up and have the light come on as well. It won't flash or anything, but we'll just do it to do it. Okay, turn your volume down. Here we go. So that was in my dad's trunk. It obviously wasn't that loud, but still, you pretty well heard that, I'll bet. Fast forward many years later, and I don't have the parts to show you. Many years later, XJoe81X got an 89 Oldsmobile Cutlass Sierra, and he wanted an alarm. There kind of was one in there, but it didn't work. And it also had a siren, much smaller one. He still has the siren. I keep telling him, he has it in his attic. I keep telling him when he goes up there to get it down for me because I want to make a video of it, but it just hasn't happened yet. One day we'll make a video of that, and of course I'll tell you the whole story with that. But that is going to wrap it up for the 1960s vintage ambulance SIRENO siren, along with the ambulance light, vintage ambulance light. Thank you very kindly for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure you click like, make sure you click subscribe, and take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.